and welcome to Humans of Pharma, a podcast by PharmaState Academy where we bring forward the real stories of professionals who are shaping the future of healthcare. I'm your host, Pape, and in today's episode of our career discussion series, I'm excited to speak with someone who has combined deep technical knowledge with innovation to lead the way in health economics and outcomes research, also known as HEOR. With over 10 years of experience, Mr. Shubhram Pandey has worked across the full spectrum of HEOR, from building health economic models to generating real-world evidence and helping many successful HTA submissions globally. He is known for transforming complex economic tools into easy-to-use digital dashboards using RSigning. And now he's exploring how generative AI can take HEOR to the next level. He's the director of HeoRlytics and also a gold medalist in statistics from BHU. Beyond work, he loves chess, spending time with his dog, and experimenting in the kitchen. Shubham sir, welcome to Humans of Pharma. We're so happy to have you with us today. Sir, I have given the audience a bit of your background, but I would love for them to hear your journey in your own words. Please, sir.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Keepa. First of all, thank you so much, PharmaState, for having me here. So for everyone who is listening this, myself, Shubhram Pandey, I have working in the field of HEOR for over a decade now. So over these years, I have had the opportunity to support wide range of projects from strategic HTA submissions to complex economic modeling, survival analysis, and real-world evidence generation, or anything that fits in the HEOR. I work closely with the global teams of pharma companies to make sure that the evidence generated is not just the methodologically sound, but also decision relevant for payers and the HTA bodies. Outside of the work, as Keepa mentioned, I'm a bit of chess nerd. I have a dog who keeps me humble. I love experimenting with cooking. Thou success varies there. So yeah, looking forward to a great conversation today and sharing what I have learned, but also continuously learning from the community as we talk about the future of HEOR and innovation in this space.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. It's always fascinating to hear how one's journey unfolds in the world of pharma, especially in such a specialized space like HEOR. So, to start things off, we would love to begin by knowing your journey. How did it all start for you? You graduated as a medalist in statistics from PhD. How did that academic foundation shape the way you interpret uncertainty, especially in a field like HEOR, where decisions affect entire healthcare system?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I graduated as a gold medalist in statistics and computing from BHU in 2017. And honestly, back then, I never imagined I end up working in something like health economics. HEOR wasn't something even on my radar. I thought I'd probably go into a more traditional stats role like finance and data science or machine learning, like that. But from my first campus placement, was in actually in a HEOR company, and that's where I got introduced to this space. At first, I didn't fully grasp what it was about, but the more I worked on real world problems, and more it the more it started to resonate. I started working on a problems where the analysis wasn't just about numbers, so it was about people, patients, people, like helping to figure out whether a new drug is worth the cost or if a treatment could improve someone's quality of life. It's pretty powerful to know that the models and evidence we generate can actually support getting life-changing therapies to patients and more affordably and more efficiently. So coming from the statistics background really shaped how I think about uncertainty, like which is such a big part of HEOR in this field. Like we rarely have a perfect data. There is always some level of ambiguity. And that's where the solid understanding of variability, confidence interval, model assumptions really help. So it's not about getting the result. It's about understanding how much we can trust it and how it might change under different scenarios. So I think coming from a pure stats background, I carry a bit of healthy skepticism, which I see as an asset. Because in HEOR, we are not aiming for perfect predictions. We are aiming for credible, transparent, and reproducible evidence that can guide policy and reimbursement decisions. So yeah, and with that mindset, I believe was shaped right those from early BHU days when I was doing graduation in statistics.
That's really interesting, sir. Especially you mentioned your statistics background. It actually connects to something we wanted to ask. You started as an analyst at QALY, moved to Parexel, and eventually built HeoRlytics from scratch. Was there a moment early on when you felt this system needs to change and I have to be the one to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there were definitely moments in my in early in my career that made me think that there has to be a smarter way to do some kind of task that we were doing at that days. So starting out as an analyst in HEOR and then later moving to ParExcel gave me a strong foundation in HEOR. I had the chance to work with some incredibly sharp minds on complex global projects. And those experiences shaped how I think about HER. But what really sparked the shift for me was a bit personal. So I remember at ParExcel, I used to sit next to a colleague who's actually now my co-founder at HeoRlytics, Barinder Singh. So maybe you can invite Barinder as well for the podcast. So we do always have a kind of conversation or between us that or tossing around ideas like can we do this differently or what if there was a smarter or faster way to approach this problem. So those conversations started as a casual brainstorming, but over time they planted the seed for something bigger. We kept coming back to same theme. There is a gap between ideas and implementation in HEOR. A lot of innovative thinking exists in pocket, but there often a lag in turning those ideas into scalable and usable solutions. So that's where the idea of HeoRlytics really came from. And that's what our tagline is as well, from idea to implementation. So it wasn't about fixing what was broken, but about reimagining the way we work using tools like R Shiny for more interactive modeling or generative AI for automating repetitive tasks. The goal was and still is to make our work more efficient, transparent, and impactful. So yeah, so that we spend less time chasing formatting and like formatting the slides and formatting the reports and more time generating the insights that actually matter for the decision makers.
Thank you. It was so good. So you and your colleague from Parexel, you both started this HeoRlytics together.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. And it's so like nice to know that you and your friend together, you guys were working together, and then you had some conversation, brainstorming, and then you started a company of your own.
Yeah.
It's such an inspiring.
Yeah, so
So
at that time it was the conversation was not really about starting a company, but it was about that how can we change this. And then like like in a bigger companies, like in a larger setups, it's usually a challenging thing to do. It's not about like because they don't want it to do, but it's like you can't change everything overnight in the larger setup. So that's the one motivation behind us starting our own company.
yeah, that's true. So was this conversation brainstorming over a chai or
Yes.
coffee?
Yes, it's definitely at tea time, and also because we both were sitting together at that time. So yeah, it's during the work hours as well sometimes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's really impressive. So, like, for someone outside the pharma world, like who does not know anything about the
Mhm.
HEOR, like,
Mhm.
how would you explain what HEOR really means and why it's such a crucial part of drug approval?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and this is a question that I get asked by a lot of friends and families who aren't in healthcare, and it's
Mm.
every time it's a challenge for me to explain. So I usually take an example, and I'll be using that example here as well. So, and just to be clear, I'm not naming any kind of drugs here. I don't want to
Mhm.
land up in any controversy. It's just
Yeah.
some
X
a
drug
made up
X.
Yeah, it's drug A and drug B.
Yeah.
So basically, let's say, imagine there is a fever medicine, let's call it drug A, and that's been on market for years. Like it works, it's affordable, people are used to it. Now, imagine a company brings out a new fever drug, drug B. It promises faster relief, maybe lesser side effects, but it's also more expensive. Now, the big question is drug B better enough to justify the extra cost? Or put simply, like, is it really worth it? That's where the HEOR steps in. We study things like how many less hours it takes to reduce the fever, how quickly people recover, how it impacts the daily life, and then we compare all with what the extra drug cost. So, and why does it matter? Because the governments and insurance companies need this information to decide whether they should cover the cost of the drug. So HEOR helps make sure the right treatment reach the right patients without wasting resources. So in short, HEOR helps make sure that the new treatment not only work, but also makes sense to the healthcare system. So patients get access to the right medicines and resources are used wisely.
So, like in this, suppose drug A and drug B, do you people also compare the side effects, like
Yeah.
who has more side effect,
Exactly. So basically, it's not only about which drug
like
is
costing?
more expensive, or it's not only about which drug is getting you getting relief as soon as possible. It's more about the side effects as well. It's more about the quality of life as well. It's more about the carer, the caretaker as well. So basically, for example, if someone is caretaking a patient and this drug requires more more hours of that caretaker to take care of that patient, so that also affects the decision. So these are all the things which HEOR studies.
So that really means HUR is like it's a very crucial part of drug approval
Exactly.
process.
Exactly.
It's
So it's all drugs which is already approved or which is used by the patients versus new drug which is
hmm.
coming into the market.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. You have worked with tools like RSigny and now you're exploring generative AI in HEOR. If a young analyst is just starting out, what's one tool or skill you think they should definitely learn? So do you think there's any skill or tool that you think will become outdated in 5 years?
Okay, so in terms of the tools, so sorry, I'll go on the tool later. First, it's good to have a foundation of HEOR. Given all the generative AI things is coming in the market, you can quickly get answer using the chat GPT or the Claude. But if you don't have the foundation in HEOR, if you don't know the foundational principles of the HEOR, none of the tool will going to work for you. So basically, like, and this is again, this is one of the questions that I come across a lot of time while talking to the young enthusiast who is starting their career in HER. So let's say if I had to pick one tool, so basically the first one is the foundation of HER. But now if you have the foundation of the HER and now you are looking for some kind of tools, so in HER, if I have to pick one, given that I'm a bit biased about R, Python is also something which you can explore, but HER is more from the statistics side. So from the and in the statistics, we use R or SAS or other softwares a lot, because Python is more from the like from the machine learning or artificial intelligence side. So if I have to pick one, definitely the R programming is the one tool which you have to focus on. If you have the basic foundational principles of HEOR, if you have developed couple of models in Excel, you know how to develop a model, and then you want to explore a tool. So R is something which is definitely you can start with, and later on R mixed with R Shiny. So R Shiny is a kind of a package of R which makes the results more communicable. So basically, if you have developed a model and now you want the results to be like to be to communicate to different stakeholders in a more interactive way, you can go ahead with the R Shiny. Now beyond that, like I'd also say, don't ignore generative AI. You don't need to master it right away, but be curious. Try using it, summarizing articles, brainstorm ideas, or check your own work. So for example, if you have a paper, if you have to summarize a paper, so first summarize it by yourself and then put it in a chat GPT and ask it to summarize it to you, and then compare that which is best. Definitely it could be a chance that chat GPT outperforms you, but you will get a learning that what mistakes did I did, and what mistakes actually chat GPT did in terms of summarizing that paper. So yeah, and just one last thing, don't just learn tools, learn to ask better questions, whether it's a pricing decision, outcomes study, or an economic model. The value you bring isn't just in writing code, it's in connecting the data to the real decision. So start with the tools, stay curious, and don't be afraid to reimagine how things can be done. So yeah.
Yeah, also I think that using all this AI, first you should know how to use it. Like I don't think that AI
Exactly.
will like take over your job. You need to learn AI to incorporate in your job so that you can perform better. Like for example, that you were saying ChatGPT first, you summarize your own work and then do no, upload on ChatGPT. I think for that also, if you have to know the prompting. If you
Yeah,
know the prompting, how to do prompting, then you will get a good result. But if you don't
exactly.
know how to do prompting, you're just typing the ChatGPT to do this and do that. I think it will just give you a bland
Exactly,
para.
exactly, exactly. I completely agree. So let's say imagine in 1990s or like around 95s, when the computer is getting trendy in the market. So everyone at that time was saying that, oh, we'll lose our job, we'll lose our job. But see, the computer in the market has created a lot of opportunities, rather than, so if it had taken, let's say, 10 jobs, it created 20 more.
Yes.
However, the skill set were different, so it's like upgrading your skills. So the like so for example, if you are doing something and then generative AI came and you think that, okay, now the generative AI will be going to take my job. No, it's not like that. AI will never be going to replace humans, at least for now, for coming few days. But yeah, definitely you need to upgrade your skill in terms of using that AI or any of the software that you are using, whether it's Python or, so you need to upgrade your skills. It's not about they are going to take your job. It's, if you don't upgrade yourself, you
Hmm.
will going to take your own job.
Yeah, I totally agree that point. And also, like, do you think like some skills will be outdated in 5 years? Like, if
Yeah,
a student,
like
if someone is learning some skill and that skill will be outdated in 5 years.
uh yeah, we can say that. So like let's say in 1990 95, so basically they were, we can't say that it will be going to obsolete in next 5 years, but definitely in next coming few years. Because so let in 2000 there was a craze of learning Microsoft Office, so there were a lot of certifications, diploma courses were going on around 2000. But now you can see everyone knows that
Excel, yeah.
how to work in Microsoft Office. You don't need a diploma or you don't need a certification program for that. So the skill is something which is not obsoleted, it's just that it's upgraded. So
Yeah.
basically none of the skills, so if you are targeting the skills which is related to the AI, related to your domain, I don't think so that it will be going to obsolete in next coming years. I don't know about future 15 like down the line 15-20 years, but not very soon.
Okay. Yeah, I also think that people need to keep up with the AI because
Yeah,
AI are very
exactly.
important. Like
Yeah,
if we learn the AI, also in ChatGPT, we humans are prompting. ChatGPT will not give you solution to anything if you don't prompt the questions, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So for example, if you simply ask ChatGPT to like provide a answer to you for a certain question. So let's say just write a prompt that give me answer of this question and paste the question and it will give you answer. But now if you rephrase that prompt in a more better way, so for example, if that question relates to, let's say for example, some programming skill, you are trying to solve any programming challenge. So you have to assign the chat gpt to a role that assume you are a programmer, and then the answer that chat gpt will give you, it will be a completely different from the first version that you got. So it's like it's not about how you use AI. Yeah, definitely, it's about how you use AI. So basically, if you are better prompting, if you are doing a better prompt, you will be getting a better answer.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
one word which is very common in the computer language is like gigo, which we call garbage in, garbage out. So basically, if your prompt is something like a garbage, you will be getting the answer like
Yeah,
a garbage.
yeah,
If your prompt is like a gold, like you will be getting the answer like a gold.
yeah. I totally agree to your point. Also, like as you explore Gen AI and HOR, are you seeing AI simply boost efficiency, or is it actually reshaping what we define as expertise in this space?
Yeah, and I think this is something I have been thinking about a lot lately. And honestly, it's both. It's like on one hand, Gen AI is definitely pushing the boundaries of efficiency. Things that used to take us days, like summarizing literature, or weeks, like summarizing literature, developing models, drafting reports, or even running some sensitivity analysis, can now be done in a fraction of time. So it's like having a super smart assistant who never gets tired. But on the other hand, like this, the part that really fascinates me is that it's also reshaping how we define expertise. So I mean, earlier, a lot of our value as HUR professionals came from being able to do things others couldn't, like write complex code, structuring, conceptualizing the models from scratch, or summarizing through the papers, or digging through the papers, I can say. Now with Gen AI, even someone with basic knowledge can produce something like that good, that pretty good. So the question becomes, what does it mean to be an expert now? To me, it's shifting towards like judgment, context, and creativity, I can say. The AI can generate content, but it still needs someone to know what's relevant, what's high quality, and how it all fits into real world decision making framework. And that's where the human expertise is irreplaceable, like for
Yeah,
now at least, I can say. So yeah,
yeah.
AI is doing more than just speeding things up. It's changing what we value in our skill sets, and honestly, I think that's a good thing. It challenges all of us to level up, to focus more on thinking and less on a routine execution. So yeah.
So, as a director at HeoRlytics, how do you balance keeping the science strong while also staying up to date with new tech and innovation?
Yeah, and it's an important question, because especially in HEOR, where we constantly have to balance methodological rigor as well as need to evolve how we work, given the dynamics is changing constantly and very rapidly. So at HeoRlytics, we have been very intentional about this. From day one, both my co-founder and I were aligned on the belief that HEOR shouldn't be stuck in the outdated processes. We have both seen how time consuming and manual some parts of the work can be, like updating models, formatting the dossiers, or generating repetitive outputs. And we kept asking each other that why can't this be more efficient, more user friendly, more dynamic? But at the same time, we also deeply value the foundation of a strong and credible HUR work. So basically, we value if you have the strong HEOR foundational knowledge. So whether it's a cost effectiveness model, budget impact analysis, or any kind of statistical analysis like survival analysis and direct treatment comparison, we make sure that the methods which we are using are aligned with the payer expectations, and the evidence we generate is robust enough to stand up to real world scrutiny. So basically, our approach has always been to merge these two mindsets: solid HEOR foundational and smart tech enabled execution. We encourage our team like to ask these kinds of questions. Can we make this easier to interpret? Can someone outside of the modeling or the statistical analysis team use this without using the without writing the codes or losing fidelity? Can AI help us move faster without compromising quality? So basically, we have created a culture where innovation isn't a side product project, it's a part of how we do everyday work. And because like we as co-founders share that thinking, it keeps the whole team aligned. So basically, we are not trying to replace the core of the HEOR. We are trying to modernize how it's delivered, given, like as I mentioned, the world is changing rapidly. So basically, and that shared mindset of my co-founder has really shaped how HeoRlytics operates, and we think it's what makes us stand out.
That's so inspiring, sir, that you and your friends started the company together. I'm curious, when you guys started, I'm curious about one thing. When you guys started thinking about growing the team and hiring more people, what mattered more to you, the mindset or the skill?
Okay, so basically the one thing, so if you look our team have a diverse set of educational backgrounds. So basically in our team, we have folks who did BTech, MTech, we have folks who did bachelors in science and masters in science. We have folks who did bachelor in statistics and masters in statistics. We have folks who are coming from B Pharma and M Pharma. We have folks who did BTech in computer science. And so you can see a diver. It's not like if you have studied this, you shouldn't belong to this company. So basically, the one thing that we look in the candidate, if, like while hiring, is the at like basically attitude of learning, we can say the learning attitude. So if you have that positive attitude of learning and challenging the things, I think that's like this is the place where you belong. Because HEOR in India, we don't have, at least not in my knowledge, we don't have any structured HEOR course. So this is something that we anticipate that the candidate whom we are interviewing, he or she will not be going to answer the technicality of the HEOR workflow. So basically, that's the one attitude that we look. And definitely, if you have a strong educational background, you will be able to you will be able to learn quicker than other folks.
Okay, from what you said, it's clear that starting HeoRlytics came from a strong need to make a difference. And that brings me to this. Running your own firm brings its own lessons. Much one believe about leadership you had to unlearn after becoming your own boss.
Ah, so I think this question really hits home because starting theoretics has been as much as leadership journey as a technical and a strategic one, because both me and my co-founder, we both are technical. We don't have, like, we are not MBAs, so we don't have any knowledge in terms of selling the services. So I think that's one of the challenge. But yeah, one of the biggest lesson that I had to unlearn when we started was this: that as a leader, you are supposed to always know what to do. So basically, coming from a structured environment, like where roles, processes, hierarchies are clearly defined, I thought the leadership meant having a vision, setting a direction, and always being like on top of things. But when we launched, that model didn't hold for our company, because suddenly we weren't just executing the project, we were shaping a company, building a culture, handling ambiguity, wearing multiple hats at the same time. And the truth is, there were many moments where we didn't have the clear answer. In fact, like sometimes we didn't even the right questions yet. So the best part now is that I wasn't doing it alone. My co-founder and I were going through this together, and what really helped is that we were aligned not just on the vision but on the way we wanted to build the company. So we all came from the background where we had seen that what worked and what didn't work in the larger setups. So, and from the beginning we agreed that we didn't want to build a company that run from top down instructions like in the larger setup. So we wanted to build a space where good thinking could come from anywhere, like where a new analyst could challenge how something's done, or someone from a non-technical background could suggest a simpler way to present the result. So if there is one thing we had to unlearn, is that the leadership isn't about certainty, it's about curiosity with direction. And that's, I usually say, like, it's not about being in charge, it's about creating a space where the right answer can emerge no matter from where it is coming from. And honestly, when your co-founder challenges you in a right ways and you have that shared humility and vision, it becomes less about leading people and more about growing together with purpose. Given the competitive environment that is currently we can see in the larger setups, it's like impossible to be on a same page. And I'll not say impossible, because but yeah, it's merely possible that to be on a same page and to be have the shared mindset. So basically both I and my co-founder has that shared mindset that we both are thinking in a same direction and challenging each other's decision, each other's asking questions, that how best we can do this. If you did this, can we do this in this way? So like these kinds of things. And I think a healthier debate is always good for an
Yeah.
organization, or whether it's done in the co-founder or it's done in a team meeting. A healthier debate, I can say, is always good.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Also, we have seen you travel a lot, conferences, different cities, different countries. Was that always part of your plan? Like, did you imagine this back when you were studying, and how do you feel about it now?
Okay. So to be honest, when I was studying, I used to romanticize the idea of travel a lot. I'd see people attending global conferences, posting pictures from different parts of the world, because at that time as well, I was very active on LinkedIn. So basically, I used to see that people usually posting pictures from different parts of the world. And what I used to think is that that's the life what I want. Like, it felt aspirational, working in different time zones, traveling for meetings, exploring cities between deadlines. That so yeah, that's the life what I wanted when I was studying. But when it actually started happening, like when I got the chance to visit over approximately 20 plus cities in different countries. For this year, 5 plus cities have been planned for this financial year till now. So it was exciting. I still remember my first international trip for work. Like, I was so pumped. Packing felt like preparing for something big, and it was big for me at that stage. So I was seeing new places, meeting people from diverse cultures, and learning how different cities works, the different systems works in different cities. And that exposure was still an incredibly valuable. But in capital words, after a while the novelty wore off. Like, you begin to realize that airport lounges, hotel rooms, solo dinners in a new city start feeling routine. So the landmarks begin to blur together. Like, you are in a new place but also disconnected, because your people, your circle isn't there with you. And in those quiet in between moments, on a flight or on, like, after a long work day, you start asking yourself, like, is this the version of the success I had imagined? Definitely I had imagined that. But this is the question which I usually ask to myself. So at one point I genuinely thought that I'd settle abroad, like many of us usually vision this.
Yeah.
So like many of us, I had that phase where I believe that global exposure and success meant physically moving away from India. But now with time and some clarity, I feel the opposite. So for me, success is only meaningful when it's shared. So with your friends, with your family, with your roots, and that feeling of coming home, eating at the same table with your parents, catching up with friends who you have known before any title or job, there is something deeply grounding about that. And India for me gives that sense of belonging. And I have realized that no matter how far you travel, where you feel at peace is what really counts. And so while I'm still open to travel and global work, my anchor is very much here, because like one thing which I completely believe in, because if you are not around the people who matter, even the biggest wins can feel like kind of hollow.
Yeah. Also, like you have mentioned that you love playing chess and cooking as a personal passion. Do you
Yeah.
find these hobbies influence how you think or solve problems at work?
Ah, okay. So definitely not in some super duper philosophical way, but in a small surprising way. So basically, let's say take chess for an example. I'm not a grandmaster
Yeah,
or
I was just thinking
anything.
about the chess. Like, is there any moment when a chess
So,
strategy help you in a meeting?
yeah, so basically I'm not a grandmaster or anything, but I play chess a lot. So I have around 1800 plus ratings on chess.com and leeches. So basically and I have been playing chess since I was a kid. So what I love about it is that it teaches you to think few moves ahead, but also at the same time to be flexible, because your plan can fall apart in just one move.
Mm,
Like if the moves that you have planned and the opposite person have not make that move, all the plans that you have made have fall apart. So that actually mirrors a lot of what we do, balancing methodological guidelines and real world context. So basically like that's a lot like HEOR projects, honestly. So basically, you might build a whole model, for example, or you write a report, and then one piece of feedback or a new data point changes everything. So just kinds of train you to stay calm, reassess, and adapt without panicking. And similarly, likewise, cooking as well. When you follow a recipe, there is always a piece like there is always some place of improvising. So basically that's how we that's the same principle that I apply in HER projects as well, that there is certain methodological, certain SOPs which has already been developed. You follow that, but there is always a room of improvising that. So yeah, and I do that. So yeah, I wouldn't say I learned HEOR from chess or cooking, but they definitely helped me thinking more clearly, stay patient, and occasionally find creative ways around the problem. Exactly. So
yeah.
basically you can think like, if I say myself, I usually, like in a normal game, I usually think 8 to 10 moves ahead
Mm,
of me and of my competitor. But somehow, like if he changes the plan, then
yeah.
again I have to think the next moves in the very given short time frame.
Yeah.
So basically that really helped me in the HUR projects.
That's really nice to know. Now let's get into the heart of what HEOR professionals deal with every day: real world, high stakes decision making. Let's go deep into value modeling. Imagine a life saving oncology drug. It works brilliantly, but the price tag is massive. How would you even begin building the case for its value in a low income country?
Okay. So basically, this is one of the complex challenge that we usually face in low and middle income countries. And since you have given the context of oncology drugs, so I'll be focusing the discussion around oncology, because it's like the oncology drugs are really very comes with heavy price tag. So basically, in low income countries, the starting point is always contextualization. So basically, like we can't apply the same cost effectiveness thresholds or assumptions that we use in the high income settings. So the first step is understanding the local healthcare landscape, like basically what is the current standard of care, what are the health system constraints, how are cost distributed, like are patients paying out of pocket, or is there some kind of reimbursement? So basically, for the low income countries, we build a localized value framework that mean like modifying the utility values to reflect the cultural or societal preferences, adjusting cost inputs for local treatment patterns, or using this is one of the important, using tallies like disability adjusted life years instead of QALYs, quality adjusted life year. So basically, like if this aligns with the policy norms. And in many cases we also explore alternative pricing mechanisms, so like tiered pricing, managed entry agreements, or value based contracts to make the product more accessible. So importantly, we don't just focus on cost effectiveness in these settings. Budget impact, equity, affordability, these are all the factors which comes into the picture. So a drug might be cost effective per se, but if it consumes a disproportionate share of that healthcare budget, it may not be still be viable. So like the role of the HEOR here isn't just to justify the value, it's to make value understandable and actionable, like in the constraint of, if you have constrained resources. So that means presenting a flexible evidence-based care that can support broader policy decisions. So yeah, ultimately it's about finding the balance between innovation and access and adapting the evidence so it speaks the language of the local healthcare system rather than the global healthcare system.
So, like, for this, what do you prioritize? Like, should we prioritize say cost offsets, survival years, or is there something else that we should prioritize?
So yeah, as I mentioned, it depends on the countries that we are targeting. So for example, in the low middle income country, so we see couple of things that adjusting the utility values can be better communicate the result, or maybe we can go with different pricing schemes, like for example, x amount will be here by the government, x amount will be here by the insurance company, and x amount will be here by the patient. So like these are the different pricing mechanisms. Or if you survive up to this year, that means the drug is effective, then you have to bear the cost. If you don't survive up to this year, then the government or the insurance company will have to bear. So these are the different pricing mechanisms that usually work in the low middle income countries. So yeah, it depends that which country we are targeting, but definitely it's not the same cost effectiveness model that we use in the high income countries across the globe. We can't use the same model here. So we have to think out of the box in terms of like we have to create a localized framework for that market.
Okay, so let's talk about a situation that's often overlooked in pricing discussion. You have got two drugs with similar efficacy, but one improves patients' quality of life. How do you reflect that in quality model and make sure payers recognize that difference?
Okay, that's a great scenario, and that usually comes up often in the HTA submission, where the drugs have the similar clinical efficacy. So and those who are listening, just for them, here I'm saying clinical efficacy, it doesn't mean that they provide the same quality of life. So basically, when two drugs have similar clinical efficacy but quality, so the quality of life becomes the key differentiator there. And that's exactly where the quality framework becomes more powerful. So in simple terms, quality adjusted life year combines how long a patient lives and how well they live. So this is the way that like quality comes into the picture when both drugs have the same clinical efficacy. So if drug A and drug B offer the same survival, but drug B improves patients' daily functioning, reduces side effects, or lower symptom burden, it earns more qualities even with the same life expectancy. And the challenge now is making that improvement visible and credible to the payers. So that starts with solid utility data. So basically, we in the clinical trial, we usually collect patient reported outcomes, which informs the utility data. So even small differences in the utility scores, let's say 0.03, 0.05, can translate into meaningful gains when we applied this over months or years of the treatment, because in the economic models we assess the long term horizon uh, data. So basically, but beyond plugging those numbers into the model, what really matters is how you tell the story. Because what people usually say see is that both drug have the same clinical efficacy. So now the challenge is how you actually project another drug which has the better quality of life. You have to communicate the story to the stakeholders, to the payers. So as we try to ground that data in the real world context, like reduced caregiver burden, better treatment adherence, or the ability of patients to stay at work with family longer, so these may not always fit directly into quality, but they reinforce the message that improved quality of life isn't just a number, it's a lived experience. So ultimately, it's about making the quality output not just technically correct, but also clinically intuitive and payer relevant. Because value isn't just about cost or survival, it's about the total experience of the patient. So definitely the quality of life, we usually prioritize the clinical efficacy, but quality of life is again something that we have to see. So let's say if one drug is improving your life 50 years, let's say, if you diagnosed with a disease when you are at the age of 40 or 45, and it increased, and then you have taken the drug, it increased your life by 50 years, so now you'll survive up to 90-95 years. But how well you survive is actually the question. And that's where the quality or the utility data comes into the picture, and that's why it's really important.
Yeah. Like, what's the exact difference in this QALY and DALY? Like,
So basically, these are the two metrics for the high income countries. QALY is the quality adjusted life years, basically where we see that how well the patient is living. And disability adjusted life years, DALYs, is something where we see that how many life years that this is improving or without disability, basically where we adjusting the disability of a disease, and then comparing the metrics that which drug is giving more DALYs. So
your
basically it's like a combination of disability adjusted life year and like disability with life year, while the other one is quality of life with life year.
Thank you so much for explaining it. I really appreciate it. So, like, okay, so let's rewind to COVID. Say you're modeling the value of a booster vaccine today in the post-pandemic world. What would you focus on? Clinical impact, public health outcomes, or economic offsets?
Okay, so if I am modeling the value of booster vaccine today,
Yeah.
okay, so uh, y- yeah, definitely we I'll prioritize by my modeling up to three core pillars, as you mentioned: clinical data, public health benefit, and cost offset. Uh, I focus on all of these three pillars. It's not like I'll be focusing only one. I'll focus on all of these three, but the weight I give to each would be heavily depend on the current context. So especially things like variant risk, immunity levels in the population, healthcare system strain, like that. So let's say, for example, I'll explain all these three in like a structure, that why I'll be considering all three, because I, the clinical is definitely important, public health benefit is also important, and cost is also important. So I'll be explaining. So let's say, for example, from a clinical standpoint, we'd look at how well the booster prevents not just infection, but severe outcomes like hospitalizations, ICU stays, and then COVID duration. Even modest improvements here can have a big ripple a big ripple effect in the model. Then there is a public health benefit. So booster may not dramatically change the outcomes for healthy individuals, but they can significantly reduce the transmission in the high risk groups. So like for the elderly or the immunocompromised patients. So that brings in the concept of indirect protection, like what we usually call herd immunity in the infectious disease modeling term. And that's where I see public health benefit. The third big piece, and this is very big in terms of the cost offset, so especially avoided healthcare utilization, because like we had seen, we quantify how boosters reduce the need for hospitalization, emergency care, and this is something which we have seen during the COVID era as well, that there at some time there's a big requirement for the hospitalization. There were big requirement of the ICU beds, oxygen cylinders, like that. So and so yeah, basically, especially like if we are modeling this for the government or for the large sponsored program, the factors that we have to consider in all these three is really important. So basically, if I can say, in the post-pandemic world, the perceived value has changed. So the model also needs to consider the behavioral and the policy dynamics, like vaccine fatigue, public trust. At that time, there was some discussion around that this vaccine was not good, this vaccine was not good. So like you have to gain the public trust. You have to account this in the model as well, like the public trust and willingness to pay. So in many ways, it's not just the health economic model, uh, because definitely if I have to model the booster for the post, and there is a lot of I can say emotions associated with that COVID era. So it's just not a health economic model. It will become a strategic communication tool to inform decision maker that how boosters fit into long-term public health planning. So it's a broader value narrative now, less about immediate crisis, sustained benefit, or a system level benefit, I can say.
Yeah, that is interesting to know this
I think
HUR.
yeah. So basically, and yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Keeper, for this conversation. And this is like a really meaningful conversation. And honestly, taking this moment to reflect out loud on the journey so far has reminded me how much this field has evolved from where I started, and how much I have evolved around it. So from like starting out as a statistician, just trying to figure out how HEOR even meant, like what HEOR even meant, to now building tools, leading a teams, and exploring the edge of what's possible with AI. It's been equal parts and unpredictable and rewarding. So basically, to anyone who is listening, especially those who are just starting out, because those who have made their careers, they already know what HEOR is, what is the trendy things which is going on in HEOR, and how they can cope up and pace up with that. But especially those who are just starting out, I say like stay curious, humble, don't be afraid to question how things have always been done, because in HEOR there are a lot of the things which like for the HTA bodies as well. If I talk about HTA body in various markets, so there are some standard set of practices which they want the the sponsors to follow. So basically, for anyone who is a starting career, always be curious, ask question that why we can't do this in this way. And the space needs fresh thinking. So basically, and if there is anything this journey has shown me, it's that meaningful work and meaningful connections aren't separate goals. They grow best when you pursue them together.
A big thank you to Subram sir for sharing his inspiring journey, deep knowledge of HEOR, and how technology like R-Shiny and generative AI is changing the way we think about evidence in healthcare. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow PharmaState Academy and share this episode with your friends and colleagues. Please reach out if you have any suggestions for future episodes by connecting with us on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep learning and stay curious. Bye.